Hey, why don't you join me as I cook? I'm going to share with you guys how we do our business meeting with my wife each week to have an awesome relationship and great communication, emotional intimacy. And so, this idea comes from this thought that if businesses have a weekly business meeting to achieve certain KPIs and business monetary goals, why don't marriages, which are a team on a mission to fulfill God's purposes and to procreate and to subdue the earth and to represent the gospel, why don't they have actual team meetings? And this really, a lot of this stuff comes from John Tyson, Jeremy Pryor, Jeff Bethke, which I learned from them. And so here is a structure that you can use every week with your wife so that you can have better communication, meaning greater intimacy in your marriage. Not only we're talking here about sexual intimacy, but we're talking about emotional and mental, because that is just as important. And that is really the framework and the ground for that. So the first thing that we always do with my wife, and one of these days we'll record it, is we start off with our wins, right? What are we grateful for this past week? Usually this happens on a Saturday or a Sunday. We look back on the past week, we're like, we had friends come over on Tuesday night. The kids were more obedient this week, or our date night was awesome and we got to connect in various ways, right? So we talk about those kind of wins. We talk about what we are then learning about ourselves. It's always great to think about how you're growing, because oftentimes we're like rushing in life, not even thinking about the things that are moving forward in our life. And then we feel behind and we feel like we're stuck. We feel like we're not achieving much. But you start observing how you're growing and you start realizing, wow, there's hope. I am changing. Things are much better than I perceive them to be. We then move on into some marriage needs, right? Do we need to communicate a little bit more? Are we having enough sex throughout the week, right? Are there any needs that my wife has that she can share with me? Like maybe I'm too harsh sometimes, or I'm not fulfilling or satisfying her love language. And she loves to cuddle, right? She always tells me, this is hilarious. She always tells me NSA, if you heard of NSA, non-sexual physical attention, right? So how can I give that to her? And this is all just super important. And so then we go into our parenting needs, like for each child, like what are our needs for each kid? Is it that with one of them, we need to administer more discipline? Or maybe one of them needs a little bit more quality time, which we actually do each week, 30 minutes with each child, because we've noticed that it doesn't matter if you have 2 kids or 4, kids are battling for their parents' attention. And oftentimes if you neglect that, they're going to start acting out. So oftentimes acting out is related to how much time you're spending with them. So we go over our kids' needs. Maybe we're training one of the kids to say hi to adults. Maybe for the other one, we're training them to clean up their room or do their bed or whatnot. We go over that. So we got our wins, marriage needs, parenting needs. And then we'll go over our calendar. What are we doing this week? Who's coming over? Do we have any family that's coming to town, or who's going to be coming over to our home as a guest that day? Because we love inviting people over and having them at our house to share life with together. And we do that because we want to get to know people in the church, but also because for us, the table, the place I'm sitting right now, is super important. It's one of our values or pillars as a family. And so because of that, anything related to the table fits into our calendar. And one of the things with having your calendar synced up is that you're never at a loss, like, oh, I thought you were doing that, but we're doing this. You never get to that place. You're always well connected. You're always knowing what's happening with the other person. Yeah. And then we're also like looking 2 to 3 weeks out, saying, are there any major projects or events that are coming up that we need to prepare for? Do we need to buy stuff for that? Like right now, it's the holiday season. And then we talk about anything to do around the house. We have projects like I need to clean up the backyard, or we need to clean our garage, or I need to patch up something in the wall. We put that into the calendar right away for that week so that it actually happens. And after that, we read our parenting principles. This is just a list of principles. So here's some of these principles that we read, right? I should be a salesman of God's mercy and kindness. Kids need boundaries and consistency, right? These are principles that just help us to stay focused. Discipline decreases when you do rewards. I should never think it weird to talk about God. Every little moment's always an opportunity to talk about something transcendent. We have these same ones also for marriage. And so we read them together, one after the other, right? Don't go for goals, but formation. Who are we becoming by the practices we're doing? Marriage is a God-given covenant for life between a man and woman to be bound together as one in love, complementing companions. The divine calling of men to take primary Christ-like responsibility, servant leadership of protection and provision. John Piper, right? So these are the things that we do in that business meeting. And obviously we pray, we ask the Lord for blessing for that week. And it's a way for us, one of the biggest things that we've learned, the lessons after we do this business meeting, is that it connects us mentally, right? Like we are both on the same page about what are we doing with the kids? What are we doing that week? What are we doing in the next month? Then it connects us emotionally, because when we share our marriage needs, we are being vulnerable with one another. When we're sharing our parenting needs, we're being open. And so I hear my wife's needs. I hear her desires. I'm not just like brushing things off to the side, moving on to what I need to accomplish. And as we connect more mentally and emotionally, because that's what Genesis 2 is all about, the two shall become one flesh. One flesh is not just this idea, now you're intimate and you're having sex. The one flesh idea is you're one in your mission, you're one in your purpose, you're one in your actions and your emotions and your being, right? You're just connected. Your two are now a team working toward a specific goal. So I just wanted to give you guys a little framework for that and encourage you to start practicing this. It just can only be just 15 minutes a week. You don't need to make it super long. But if you're looking for a template, I'm going to drop the Notion template that I use down below so you could just follow that same framework and use that in your home to be the intentional man, the intentional father, intentional husband that God has called you to be. And now I'm off to pilaf. This is a Russian dish that my dad makes. It's just rice, some nice meat, good old carrots, and the salad that I actually left over there.